Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you're already subscribed here. My name is Kristen Brown, and today I'm going to be addressing a question that was posed in the comments section of my most recent video. That video was titled 7 Tips for Dealing with a Needy Person. I'll actually post that link right up here and in the description below in case after watching this video, you're like, I think I'm dealing with a needy person in my life, and you want some reference about how to handle them. So anytime a subscriber reaches out to me and asks me a question, I put it in a queue because I really want to be here for you all. I want to answer the questions that organically and naturally come up for you. And when this question was posed to me, I thought to myself, interesting that I did not put that in the video, the examples of needy behavior, because I assumed if somebody was searching this topic, that it is a topic that they were already pretty well versed with. They already knew what they were dealing with. But then I realized that sometimes we don't know what we're dealing with. We just know this behavior seems kind of weird. It's kind of off. It's kind of wonky. It feels different than other people's behavior in our life. And so we're like, okay, I'm not sure what I'm dealing with here. But I also want to be sure to say that I'm not going to shame anybody who is needy, insecure, lacking confidence, any of those things, because for the most part, I believe that every single person on earth has probably been there at some point. I know I definitely have. So if you're wondering if someone in your life is needy, then this video is for you. The first clue that you might be dealing with a needy person is that they're going to be constantly seeking validation. Now, it's normal for human beings to want validation. If we're going through something or we're trying something new, we might want to go to our friends or somebody and say, hey, what do you think about this, right? We just need some outside feedback to come back to us. But for the most part, an individual who is not needy, they're going to be able to process that, the information coming out with them, and then make the decision themselves. But a needy person really weighs to one side on this, where they're truly looking for you to fill their worthiness cup. They're not comfortable in their own skin whatsoever. They have very little worthiness, if any, self-worth at all. And so they're going to constantly be needing validation for everything they do. They're going to need validation for the way they look, the way they dress, for decisions they make, for choices they're making. And they're looking for you to make those decisions for them or to tell them that it is okay. But also seeking validation can look like what we used to call back in the day fishing for compliments, okay? Where the person's constantly fishing for compliments. They're throwing out the lure, hoping that somebody's going to bite and is going to feed their lack of self-worth. So it could be things like, I'm too fat, or I'm ugly, or I'm not good enough, or I'm never going to find a woman or a man, or I'm not smart enough. They're going to say things like that in hopes that someone like you is going to come back to them and say, oh my gosh, you are so beautiful. You are so wonderful. You are so great. And for a typical person, we might have moments of that where we feel insecure about certain things about ourselves or choices or decisions we're going to make, but it's not going to stick. Okay. We might ask it one time or another time, but then there'll be a pretty big space in time between the next time that we are going to ask that thing. But someone who is needy, this is going to be something that's coming at you a lot. It's going to be like this tapping on your shoulder all the time. It's like, hey, fill me up, fill me up. I feel insecure. I need you to tell me I'm wonderful. I need you to tell me I'm wonderful. But what happens with that is, and this is what I want you all to really know, you're going to feel an energy from a needy person that you're not going to feel from somebody else. Okay. Because like I said, we all have these things that go on within us, but a needy person feels a certain way because they have energy that's really grabbing at us. It's really pushing into our energetic space, and we're going to feel that. And people do that occasionally where they dip into our space, but they dip back out again. Those needy people, we're going to even feel them when we're not around them. So if you can get really in touch with your own energy and your own field, you're going to start to notice that you can feel that coming at you, even when they're not with you. So above all, anything else that I say here today, I want you to trust yourself. As a life coach, as a mentor, as an author and a speaker, what I try to do is put you back in the power seat of your own life. That's why one of my taglines is reclaim your personal power, because you need to learn to get really in touch with what it is that you're feeling or seeing. And if you don't like it, you don't dig what you're seeing, then you get that choice. That is your choice. That is your sovereignty. That is your free will that you can say, I don't like the way that's feeling. And a second clue that you might be dealing with a needy person is that they are overly clingy. Now, we see this a lot in romantic relationships, but this can equally be true in platonic relationships. I remember I had a girlfriend back in the day who reached out to me constantly, and she always wanted my attention. She was all up in my biz, and she was constantly pushing into my space. So much so that one time I came walking out of the house to bring my daughter to school, and there was a car parked in my driveway. And this is fairly early in the morning, like 7 a.m. or something. And there's a car parked in my driveway, but I couldn't see because the sun was glaring at my face. And I was like, who is that person? I couldn't see who it was. And I was like, kept looking. And then she popped out of her car and she's like, hi, I thought I would just drive with you to go take your child to school. And I remember feeling so put off. I remember being like, I didn't invite you to come to my house, and I have this long list of things that I have to do. And the other thing is that my drive time to and from my daughter's school was my me time in the morning. So by her coming into that space, it was very off-putting to me. But it could also be really physically clingy, like where they're constantly hanging on you, or they have their arm around you, or they can't be away from you, which segues me into another clue that you might be dealing with a needy person, which is they don't like to be alone. Whether they're pushing into your space, if they're not, if you put up appropriate boundaries and you don't allow that to happen, they're going to go find somebody else to push into their space. And then they're going to jump to the next person, the next person, the next person. So you're going to notice that this person does not spend very much, if at all, any time alone. And you're going to see like, wow, they're constantly on the go. They're constantly doing something. They're constantly with someone. Keep in mind that these clues that I'm sharing with you, sometimes several of them will link together. But again, I want you to run this through your own personal guidance system. I want you to get into your own feels about this, because you're going to know, you're going to feel it. All right. And a lot of times as recovering people pleasers, we feel like we're feeling something, but we're so afraid to do anything about it because we're afraid of offending and hurting somebody and this and that. And if this is the case for you, then I highly recommend that you go into my boundaries playlist. I've got so much information there on boundaries, and I talk about all the ins and outs and idiosyncrasies and quirks and things that a lot of times people aren't talking about when they're talking about setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. And the third clue is that this person might be a drama seeker, which means they're always trying to stir up drama. They're always complaining about something, and or they're always playing the victim. In the case with another person that I was dealing with, this person was so stuck in their past that almost every single day, almost every single time I spent time with this person, they were talking about how wrong that their family members, their siblings did them. It's like, it was over and over. And I don't care if we were making food. I don't care if we were on a walk. I don't care if we were watching a movie. Somewhere, somehow, they would bring this up because they wanted attention. They wanted that validation. They wanted us, the poor me. Okay. So a lot of times people are going to create drama or create chaos or create something so that they can be the center of attention. And initially, when somebody tells you or me or anybody else, a sad story or somewhere in their life where they have been done wrong, initially we're all like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. And maybe the second or the third time we say the same thing. But above that, that person really needs to start working on that themselves. So if they're just on this loop, this buffering of keep saying the same thing over and over and over again, then this is a person that's really suffering inside. And it's important to have compassion with them, but it's also important to set and maintain healthy boundaries, because if you don't like that energy, that you're not a person that wants to stay submersed in that type of lower dense energy, then it's really important that you set boundaries with that person. But once again, you can watch the video that I talked about in the beginning, 7 tips for dealing with needy people, about setting, maintaining healthy boundaries with them. And one more thing that a needy person may do is they might monopolize conversations. I heard this recently referred to as a conversational narcissist, which, narcissist, woo, we throw that name all over the place. But they'll monopolize the conversation, which means you'll go to tell a story and they're like, oh, here's my story. Or you go to say something else and they're like, oh, here's what I think about that. They're just constantly interrupting. They want to be the center of attention, to have all the light on them at all the times. In fact, it's almost painful for them to be just sitting there and not being the center of attention. Like they'll feel very antsy and they might get up and walk around, or they might leave and go somewhere else and talk to somebody else. Like they need that energy coming at them constantly for many reasons, so that they feel like they're worthy, so that they feel like they're alive, so that they feel like they're not invisible. Now, once again, neediness does stem from a lack of self-worth, and I am throwing no shame and no shade onto a needy individual. Like I said, most of us have been there ourselves. So this is not about attacking the person. This is not about putting them down. This is not about calling them names, telling them they're needy, telling them they're stage 5 clinger, or any of these things. This is really about going, I understand what's happening inside of this person right now. You want to have empathy and love and compassion towards what they are experiencing, as equal to setting and maintaining a healthy boundary with them. Because that, if you're coming at them really hard and strong, then that is going to make them get, really defensive, and somehow it's going to blow up in your face. But if you maintain this level of compassion and love for what they're going through, and you set and maintain those healthy boundaries, you're actually delivering the best possible antidote or solution to what's happening here. Dealing with a needy person can be extremely frustrating. I'm being thrust back to a time in my life where a person was basically following me around everywhere I went. And at first it was kind of endearing and cute, but over some time I was like, okay, this is falling over into the unhealthy side of things. And it stayed that way for quite some time, even when I was setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. It was my learning curve. It's how I practiced, okay, how do I have compassion for this person is equally to taking care of myself. And I will tell you what happened in this particular relationship. It was a romantic relationship. When I started to set and maintain healthy boundaries with that person, and I actually said, "You're smothering me." That person actually had this like crazy come to Jesus moment where they were like, "Wow, I don't mean to be that way. Like, I'm super independent." But this person thought they were supposed to be that way in a relationship, which a lot of times men will do things like that because they're told how they're supposed to treat a woman from society. So they're like, okay, I got to be at her beck and call all the time. That might not even be what they want to do. So again, take all this information with a grain of salt. But the most important thing is that you go within your own self and you feel in your feeler about what feels right and true for you. The most obvious clue is that if you're getting this kind of, ooh sort of feeling from this person coming at you on a consistent basis, there's a reason why you're feeling the ooh. So it's time for you to investigate, go within and say, okay, I can't stop what they're doing. However, I can control the way that I respond to that, and I can remove myself from that energy if I need to. And if you guys need further help setting, maintaining healthy boundaries, I got 2 things for you. I have my book, The Recovering People Pleaser, a spiritual guide to reclaim your true worth and attract the love you deserve. I have a whole boundaries chapter in here that is so juicy, it's so fruitful that everybody that has read it has said to me, wow, I never saw boundaries this way. And thank you so much for making it clear. But the other thing is that I have a free guide that is called Say No with Confidence, 25 ways to decline politely without guilt. And you can grab that guide right here. What it is 25 pre-made scripts, real simple scripts about when people are coming at you, requesting something from you, wanting something from you, pushing into your life, that you can decline in a way that you feel confident that you are being polite and kind in doing so. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Until next time, remember, you matter. Now go love yourself.